This is partners in the process, 'cause we're built better together.
I know me and you've known each other for a while. How long has StickerGeek, first of all, Howie Thompson was StickerGeek, introduction, out of Union, Missouri, right?
Yep.
And how long has StickerGeek been around? I know from conception.
Well, so in November of 21 is when I started it formally. The name came about. I used to get made fun of by all the sign installers. He was always like, "Oh, hey, StickerGeek," and I was like, "Man, it's kind of catchy."
Yeah.
And I always, so we started that in November of 21. So it's almost 3 years. We're going on 3 years now.
So how much of that struggle, how much of that 3 years was the real hard grind before you started seeing some traction?
We're still grinding. This year has been probably the toughest as of yet, as far as growing pains, if you will. And then towards the end of last year, it's been very difficult. It has been. We've discovered that, hey, we're getting to a point now where we can't just fly by the seat of our pants, because there's not 10 jobs on the books. There's 110.
Right.
And there's 4 of us. And we got to have systems and processes, and that's really been this year. I got hit upside the head with the systems and processes.
Yes.
And since then, we've implemented some new software, so that's been super helpful. But it's been a struggle. It has not been easy.
It's funny because as entrepreneurs, when we first start out, whether it's us or you've got a partner, we do fly by the seat of our pants, and everything's like it's all on us. You're the bookkeeper, you're the guy doing the work, you're the guy cutting things, you're the guy printing things, designing things. So I understand that mentality, but to shift from that to structure when you want to grow and scale, that's a hard concept, and where a lot of people fail, because some people are really good operators, they're not good business people.
Yes.
So they're really good at operating whatever it is they're doing. From that standpoint, when it comes to structuring it and actually scaling it and building it past a job, because in all honesty, if you're building a company, you're not building something for you just to work every single day. The idea is to build it up to a point where you put people in place that are doing the work, and you're just oversight at most, and you have that income coming in in your oversight. You're building a company that works for you instead of you working for it, right?
Yes.
And so, I mean, the ability for you to even be here today with us and for us to be here with you means that that's working in some degree for people. You know what I mean? Yes. Once you get the structure in place and the processes and stuff, you have a little bit more of that freedom. So it'll never get easier.
No.
Because what happens is the bigger you get, the bigger your problems.
Well, and you just learn. You learn how to cope with it and deal with it, and that's something this year I've had a rough year, and it's been all right. Well, if I don't do this, it's my company, it's Corey's company. If I don't change this, I can't blame you or you or you. It's me. Like, this is a me problem. This isn't an employee problem. This isn't a wife problem. This is a me problem. I do this every day. If I don't change this, it's going to go this direction. So I have to change this now, whether I know what I'm doing or not. I'm changing it. We're gonna make it. We're gonna hang a left right here. We're gonna go this way.
Break ahead in that way.
And that's what it's gonna be. And in the last 3 months, I would say that it's gotten night and day. A lot less stress as far as day-to-day stress. A lot more organized. We're still, like I said, we're still learning everything, and then getting all the guys on the same page. They've all been really receptive in making those changes and making sure that things are documented, and everything's on iPads now. So everybody's got an iPad, and it's kind of weird because it's a small company, but like I want to just get it to where, like, it doesn't matter if we're doing $1 million or $5 million. Like, it's not gonna, the same systems will work.
Right.
Like, I want to overbuild it.
Right.
And I realized I'm really good at sticking stickers, but I have no idea how to run a business. I don't have any family businesses, like any members of my family that are in business.
And that's a crossroads for a lot of entrepreneurs.
Yes. I just knew I wanted to own my own business at some point, and I didn't know how I was going to get there. Didn't know when it was going to happen,
like? Right.
how you do it, where you start. And, I said, I lost a $90,000 a year job. And I said, hey, guess that's my sign.
That was your back against the wall
Let's
moment.
go. Wait, we're in a corner now, like sink or swim.
And some people don't have that ambition to see
Yeah.
that foresight to be like, you know what, I could do this for myself. I mean, I think a similar situation for us and a lot of other people we talked to was they worked for somebody else, maybe multiple somebody else's, that trained them in a field that they got very proficient in, and they understood that the value that they had was greater than what they were given by anybody else, like the
Yes.
opportunities. So they're like, well, I'm going to go make my own opportunities.
Yeah.
And that's what happens sometimes. So like and a lot of people put it like, why am I making all these people money when I can make myself money? Well, there's a trade-off there. Let me tell you this. If you're going to get into entrepreneurship because you want to set your own hours, if you want to be your own boss, if you want to make tons of money, if you want to think that you can go on vacation all the time and it's stress-free right out of the gate, if you want any of those things, you're sadly mistaken. That's not, it's quite the opposite.
But I think what people don't understand too is when you work for somebody that's really, really good at it, they make it look so easy. And when you like started working for yourself and stuff, we didn't realize how much paperwork and processes it was going to take. You think you're going to go out there and drive a truck and that's going to be your day. And that is not it. Because then he's coming home.
That's
We've
the
got
easy
payroll.
part.
That's the easy part. Same with you,
yeah.
I'm sure.
Sa-
You think
same.
I'm going to go out, I'm going to put the stickers on, I'm going to wrap your
Yep.
car, I'm going to do that. Not realizing all the paperwork that comes with it and that I didn't allow time for that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because we still got families. You're married. You've
Yep.
got kids.
Yep.
They play a very crucial part in our lives if you're doing this correctly. We're very big proponents of taking your family with you on the journey.
Absolutely.
And this entrepreneurial journey is just that. And so if I'm doing work all day long and I'm grinding, I've got to carve out time for them too. I got to carve out time for me and her relationship because after the kids are gone, it's me and her. So I need to foster that now so that when
Know
we've
how to
raised
deal with
them,
each other.
Right.
yeah, how do we deal with each other when they're gone? We want to make sure that we have a nice, healthy relationship. So we've developed entire structures just on our relationship and communication and stuff like that. It's funny you mentioned earlier about blaming yourself for things. It's really hard for me to point the finger at myself. It actually took me standing in front of a mirror and pointing the damn mirror because I wasn't pointing directly at myself. I wasn't doing this. I was saying, you're the problem. You know what I mean? You're the problem. And when I realized, we had a conversation just yesterday, I think it was, and I said, that's my fault. Well, this was going on, that was going on. I said, no. It's my fault. I can say that these days. I own that. I'll wear it. It's my fault. You know what I mean? Doesn't make it any better, any worse. It just means that I'll take responsibility for it and I will fix it. I'm not asking for your pity. It's my fault though. Like I take full responsibility, even to things that don't seem like they are your fault. Like somebody else did it, but it might fall back on the fact that I didn't train them properly. Still my fault.
It's your fault.
Still my fault. End of the day, the ball rolls all the way downhill. My company, my fault.
It don't matter if you're at the top of the hill, it's still your fault.
So when you're setting those structures in place and those systems, you have to reverse engineer them for the fact that it is always your problem. So let me start there and let me backtrack all the way to the solution that we're trying to find and make sure I check all those boxes in between.
Yes.
And that if anything slips, there's a checks and balance there. Otherwise, it slips all the way back to me.
Yep. It's
Right?
it's your job as a business owner to mitigate risk. And at the end of the day, you hired somebody, it's your fault. That's a reflection of you. If you don't train them properly, if it all comes back to you. And there's something I don't think like that, but I sat, I was on a mountain bike ride and I'm like, dude, this isn't nobody's fault but your own. And I was like, you know what? I just got to own this. And I think the hardest thing too is, stepping backwards sometimes. Like you're building all this momentum, but that's not working.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to reel it back in. And I guess being competitive or you don't want to go backwards, right? Like,
Right.
but sometimes you got to go backwards to go forward.
Addition by
again.
subtraction.
Yeah, exactly. And that's, again, they don't teach you that. You just got to learn it. And hopefully you can learn it quick enough so you can recover
Right.
and make those adjustments. Like, I feel very fortunate that I've figured this out now instead of 6 months from now. Because
Right.
we could be having a different conversation.
Right.
Really, we could. When you grow, it doesn't take long for those mistakes, and it's just one or two mistakes away from being done. Like they're not recoverable at that point. When
But
you
it's
get so
hard
big.
to always foresee all the possibilities.
Exactly.
It's hard.
Yeah, I was really good at sticking stickers.
Mm-hmm.
All this other stuff, like I'm just learning as I go. Like they don't teach you this.
Right.
Yes.
They don't teach you this.
Yeah.
You know, I sit back and I look at like the shops that I've worked at before, and I've learned so much from a lot of different people around here. This worked really good for this shop, so I'll take these pieces and I'll take these pieces from here. All right, and then I'm going to implement those into mine. Well, okay, this one doesn't work for mine, and you just gotta
Yeah.
you're
Piecemeal.
constantly changing on the fly.
Because it might work for a little while, and then new information changes it.
Exactly.
And you gotta sub
or
it out
you
for something
or you
else.
add another person. Well, now you got to redo everything. Or you add a new piece of equipment in, or you add a new service.
Yeah. New equipment can change your whole SOP.
Yes.
You know, if you put a new printer in and your guys' way of doing stuff, you know, printing, designing, weeding, all that before on this is different than this new technology because maybe it's all print and does it all. Well, now the way you install is different. The time it takes is different. The equipment you need is different. You know, if you get a new service, now you're doing stuff high. What do you need? The bucket truck. Now you need all those certifications, and you need everything that comes with that.
And
if it's
insurance, and the training,
and the training,
make
and
sure you have the
CDL.
proper equipment.
Yeah.
It's it's a
Design.
whole.
So people are like, oh, great. So now you're new billboards. Okay. or I'm going to do high signage. We'll just call it high signage. Okay. It's like something I can't reach with a ladder without it being too sketchy. But the amount of fold that goes into that now, like we just said, it's not that simple, which also then correlates to pricing, which then now you have to look at the market. What are my competitors charging for similar services?
Yes.
Do I even want to get into this or not? Do I want to break into that, or do I just want to stick with what I have? And maybe we'll offer that later as something that's a convenience to our customers because we're doing well enough over here that we need to offer that.
It just depends on how much you want to evolve and change your company, though.
Yeah, or grow it, or
You know?
how many different aspects. You know, a lot of people do very well in a niche. They stick to that, and that's what they do. Car wraps, prime example. We talked about the guy that owns LA Wraps, I think it is, or maybe it's not LA Wraps. He's in LA.
RDBW or RD.
Not RW, not RD, whatever. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
DLA.
Not them.
Yeah.
The guy that does all the camo wraps and stuff.
Oh,
the wrappers
Atlanta
and stuff.
Custom
Atlanta
Wraps.
Custom Wraps.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got like a pretty niche market on what he
doesn't
does.
even have a printer.
Yeah.
Like that's genius. Like if that works, like
Yeah.
you know our market. I would starve if all I did was color changes, right?
Yeah.
There's just not a market for it, but it works for him. He's getting cars shipped in, like he
And it's all
he
high-end
does-
clients that are paying ridiculous
Oh,
amounts
yeah,
of money. And of
absolutely.
course, he's given a hell of a product too.
Yeah.
I mean, he's putting this together very well.
and he with the social media, and I mean, he's got it figured out. He did a really good job at figuring
Marketing
out.
and
yes.
targeting that specific.
Yep.
And so all those rappers and I guess a lot of athletes,
A lot
and
of
things
athletes,
like that.
yeah. And then
So-
he's used that to leverage his business,
Right.
and it's worked out really good for him. You know,
Also
outside
another guy
looking
that
at-
came from nothing.
Right.
Yes,
Yeah.
and I actually went to the Masters a few years ago, and
Mm-hmm.
I went down there and I got to hang out with
That's
him
what
one
you
night.
said. Yeah.
Super nice guy.
Laid back, pretty.
Super nice. Actually, it was like 7:00 when me and Corey got into town that night. And he's like met us back up at the shop. We went and did donuts in his Huracan. Like the dude was just super cool.
Yeah.
Like he didn't have to come back up after you know.
Yeah.
But he's figured out something that works, and that's kind of what we're trying to do now. And we've had this discussion. Like I've just got another website. I'm getting ready to build another website. Like because we're really focusing on the commercial side, commercial wraps. I think we discussed that.
Yes.
last time.
Yes.
And that's really the direction that we want to go. Wall wraps, commercial stuff. You know, I want to deal with business owners.
We talked to a lot of people about the narrow and deep,
Yeah.
Approach. Sometimes people want to puke all over everything. Like we got to do all this. We got to have all these different services. We got to have all this equipment, all these people trained. Not necessarily.
Nope.
If you go very narrow and deep on one thing and get extremely good at that, everything else can branch off that later.
Yes.
It's easy to squirrel. It's so easy to like want to do all these things and offer these different services. You'll get one person that comes to you and says, would you guys do this? And it might be the first person in ever that's asked for this. And you're like, you know what? We should start. I've been guilty of being like, I got to go buy this other piece of equipment now.
Right.
And you're like, you want to do all this for one job? Well, if I do this one job, it'll get me started and I can go get these other jobs.
Same.
But but you're working on this. You're doing fine over here doing this. So why are we going to go buy this whole other piece of equipment to do this one job? And I've done it multiple times. I've done that. I'm bad about it. I'm trying to get better. I am getting better to just, actually, I've gotten a lot better. But just sticking in a lane, so to speak, until I just have killed it.
Yeah.
You know? And so you had talked about nobody teaches you this. So from that, our training ground was 12, 15 years in the trucking company, and scaling that and growing that, which has grown into multiple companies now and helping other people with their companies. And so from that, the Limitless Vitality Group was born, because what we found, the best thing for us was mentorships, like for us personally, because all the questions I have, all the teaching that doesn't exist in college, all the professionals that are out there doing their day-to-day that people aren't asking for help, because most people don't approach, if you're lucky enough to know one personally in your family or something, and they will feed information to you on how they did things, they exist and they're more than happy to tell you, but it's never commercialized that they do. The whole personal growth and professional development market's really taken off in probably the last 5 years, and a lot of people looked at it as kind of a scam. Well, there was a lot of scam artists out there that were preaching some stuff they read off books, and they didn't really build anything themselves.
There's scam in
everything, right?
Right.
So we did a bunch of research and started finding out who we wanted to talk to and follow, and for the key reasons that we wanted to. But now we have found that through mentorships, you can shave off 5, 10, 15 years off your journey. You know, when people say, well, they didn't teach me how to do this, but find somebody who's done it and see if they'll mentor you. It might cost you some money, but it'll save you 100-fold more.
The last probably 3 months since I kind of had my breakthrough moment, if you will, I deal with a lot of business owners every day in my industry. So like plumbers, electricians, when they come pick up their vans, I talk business with them. And what I've noticed is a lot of those guys are like, they love it. They want to talk. And I'm, you know, I'm all ears. You've been doing this 25 years. You know, and then, you know, like yesterday I had a guy come in and he's growing like crazy, and we were discussing different things, and he goes, so yeah, everything looks like it's going good, man. You know, you're growing, you got this big building, all these printers and guys. And I was like, yeah, I said, but you know, we've kind of stepped back from where we were, and you know, I've learned the word no. You know, if it's not a good fit for us, you know, like let's just walk away now. And he goes, you learned something early in business, and that's probably going to save you, you know. And then we kind of discussed, you know, here's what I did when this problem came, and it's great. And these guys enjoy. Hey, let's go do lunch sometime. Yeah. Free information. Like I'm gonna, you know what you're doing. You've been in business 25 years. I'm gonna listen to you.
It doesn't matter what business you're in.
No. You can take any information, and you know, sometimes you gotta switch it around to, you know, fit the industry, but
if they're the statistic,
it's a service-based industry,
correct,
right? Like I'm dealing with people, you're dealing with people, how do you do it?
And if they're the small end of the statistic, if they're the one that surpassed where everybody else fails and lasted the test of time, yes, I want to hear how you did it.
Exactly.
And I guarantee you in that story, it's going to be fraught with, I almost went bankrupt. I lost a lot here. I couldn't find employees. I worked long hours. I missed a lot of things, a lot of heartache, a lot of all that to start to peel towards success.
Yep.
It's that valley of despair, as Alex Hormozy talks about, that people quit. You know, they got this ambition and this drive that wants them to start in that direction. And then they started and they get down to a point where they're like, I don't know that I can go any further. Like, I'm going to quit. And they don't continue to look for that path to push through. They just give up because it's uncomfortable and it's hard, and they just don't know if they can deal with it anymore. Yeah. When they push through that valley and they start to find the other side and they start to head back up, that's where you start to gain momentum again and get to the other side. But nobody makes it through that valley. They always get stuck and they quit.
Well, it's easy to quit.
It is easy to quit.
You know, it's comfortable going in and clocking in and leaving at the end of the day, you know.
For you, for the family, they have the security of knowing you're going to have a guaranteed paycheck.
There's been discussions with me and my wife this year. Man, I really liked when you worked for so-and-so. You were home at 4:30. You know, you made your money. You're here on the weekends. And I say, yeah, but that's not this. Where we're at now is not the end. So let's keep, I mean, because it's been stressful, and it creates not only stress at home, but, at work. It's so easy to give up. And I've talked to another business owner recently too, that, he's going through a time where he's like, I just want to quit. And I was like, I get it. Like, I want to quit almost every day. I'm just not going to. I'm too dumb. Like, I'm too stupid to fail.
Yeah, you told us that. You told me that.
I
And that's a great way of putting it.
I just don't. I look back, I'm 41. The times that I have quit, I quit playing baseball in my freshman year. Like, I regret that decision to this day. Like, watching my boy play ball, all of my boys play ball, and it's like, now I have that. I'm at that. If I quit now, in 10 years from now, I might not. There's different problems. So, like, figure out how to deal with it and keep going forward.
What level
Just
problem
don't
do you
quit.
want?
Just don't quit. Just keep going forward.
I mean, if you looked at every opportunity as a problem and just what problem do I want to take on, that's what they really are. Every opportunity is going to come with problems.
Yeah.
So rather you have, like you said, if you had the foresight to see all those, a crystal ball or whatever, that would make it easy. They say, how hard would you push? What would you endure if you knew you couldn't fail? Like, what would you do? Well, of course you'd do anything. But what's the glory in that? It's the idea behind the fact that I'm going into this not knowing if I'm going to fail, and knowing that the fact is there that I could, that has me on. If I knew I couldn't fail, I don't think that I would push as hard or do the due diligence I need to do or be as pinpoint accurate as I need to be, because I needed to be the best it possibly can. If I always knew I wasn't going to fail, I'd be like, it'll be all right.
Yeah, it's
I
gonna
think
be
it'll be
fine.
fine. It'll be fine. So I'll do it half-assed.
Well, and you don't get calloused either. You don't know how to handle it when it doesn't go right. At that
Failure.
point. You don't know if you can't handle failure. Like, you.
Dude, Mike Tyson, he said, everybody's an ambitious fighter till they get punched in the face.
It's
Then
true.
what? Then you're scrambling and you're
And
looking
that's
to hide.
business every day. You get
every
punched in
day.
the face.
Yeah, so everybody's a fighter till they get punched in the face. Well,
Exactly.
everybody's an entrepreneur till they get kicked in the nuts.
Yeah.
And then when you're sitting on the ground trying to figure out if you want to get back up and get going again, a lot of them are like, I'm done. I'm going to go back to that 9 to 5. I'm going to go work for the other guy that's already been kicked a ton and got it figured out.
Yeah.
And rather you think he's got it all figured out or not, I promise you he doesn't have it all figured out. He's still figuring it out every day.
Yeah, but like when you're in that valley that you talk about, if you can push yourself out of that valley, now you know when you're up here, if you go back down, you can get back out of that. You've been out of it.
Oh, so now in this situation, you did this, you went through the valley. Now replicate it. The next time you get in that situation again, how do I push through? How do I get to the other end?
Yeah.
And so for us, that has compounded in its success by the fact that her and I do it together.
Yeah.
So we developed a way of basically leaning on each other's strengths and weaknesses so that we can get through about any situation. And we use objections just like you would in car sales or anything like that. She shoots me my objections, I shoot her objections. We go back and forth with those objections till we come to a solid agreement on the way that things need to be done. And whether I agree with it or not, as a partner, whether it be your partner Corey or it be my partner in life and partner in business as well, I support her 100% in that, whether I think it's mine or not. So if she comes to a conclusion, I'm like, I just don't think it's going to go that way, but that's what we're going to go with. I 100%, not only do I 100% support you in that, I 100% am going to help you to achieve that. I'm not going to do it to the point that you fail and I go, I told you that wasn't the right way to
told
do
you
it.
so.
Right.
Yeah, I'm not doing that. I'm 100% committed to that idea.
And usually, and we find too that obviously there are sometimes several different right answers. It's just which one's the best one to try maybe first.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah, no, that's absolutely.
So, and I'm sure like your wife is probably very supportive. But
Absolutely.
you go, I know you have good days and bad days, and she's going to have good days and bad days, just like you. So, but she doesn't necessarily work in the business with you at this point, correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
Which we've talked about how you thought maybe she could.
Yeah, possibly a gatekeeper.
Right. For the front side of
yeah.
the office,
Like-
which you think is a role that really needs to be.
Yeah,
played
that's
within the
something that's
company.
definitely going to have to be implemented moving forward. We
Right.
just got to figure out what that,
Logistically how that's
how that works.
And I know you said she substitute teaches.
Yep.
She loves it. She loves teaching.
She loves it.
Yeah.
She loves she watches the grandkids 1 day a week also. So like I don't want to pull her away from stuff that she really enjoys.
Right.
You know, does that make sense?
It is, and
because
actually,
like,
so you and I talked about this
yeah,
last time, and her and I then talked about it afterwards. We do this quite often with people, and we do it with each other too. But
that's
we do
good
it a lot
though,
with other- we
because
do
So-
yeah,
because then when we come back to the table, my question is, have you ever sat down and point blank asked the question, if I needed you in the company, are you willing to leave substitute teaching?
Well, I don't even know that it would have to be leave it as much as could it be a part-time position? Could she come in and have, like, you work in the office Tuesdays and Thursdays as the secretary, and then you substitute teach
A day or two,
a couple days, and then
Yeah.
you have your grandkid.
yeah,
You know,
that's definitely an option too. I haven't point blank asked her. It's kind of, again, that's a me thing. Like,
Sure.
hey, this is a conversation that we have to have or whatever.
right?
But I see her happy, and like I don't want to like.
Okay.
It's good. You're good over there. Like
see
I'll
her
figure
happy.
out this
Sure,
spot
sure,
over
sure.
here, but you're really happy over here.
but here's the counter side of that. Here's the yin and the yang. You have never seen her with you working within your company. How do you know she's not that happy or happier
That's
working
true.
with you?
You're right. You're right.
You don't,
Yes.
because you've never done it, and you've also never asked.
Correct.
You know, there's been times when I'm feeling a certain type of way or thinking about a situation, and she'll straight see it on my face, and she's like, "What?"
What's
and I'm like, "No, what's the problem?" I'm like, "Oh, nothing." And she's like, "No, no."
I can tell.
She's like, "We got time. Do put this away. What is it?" Well, I'll tell her. She'll come back. Okay, let me think about it. She'll think about it. We'll work. We'll do a work through. You know what I mean? So it gets to the point now where
Or I'll just give an answer, and he's like, I didn't even think about it that way, and I'm like, just try it.
that happens a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's not my wife. She says she's a thinker.
Or you might say something, and she might have somebody in mind. She might be like, "You know what? What about so and so?" And you'd be like, "I never thought about them. Do you think that? I don't know. Ask them." You know, I mean, you don't ever know where that conversation is going to go. Sometimes bouncing them off of them, they're around us all the time. She knows how I tick better than anybody knows how I
Yeah.
tick. She knows how I tick. We've been together for 22 years. She knows how I tick. For better or for worse, she gets me.
Yeah.
So she knows what's going to trigger me in a bad way, what's going to trigger me in a motivational good way. She knows what's going to get me fired up. She knows, and that's in a good way and a bad way.
Yeah.
And she knows how to pull me down.
Right.
She knows how to take me right off the edge if need. She's the only person that can do that. Matter of fact, she's the only person that can send me to the moon or pull me down off of the ladder. She's the same person. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And she's the only person that I have my guard down enough that I allow to have that control on my
Yeah.
emotions. And just because in full, you know, if I want to open myself to her in our relationship and be that kind of person with her back and forth, she gives that to me and I give that to her, that vulnerability, because then that's why we work so well together in bouncing these
And it
ideas
is
off
hard,
each other.
like, especially in the beginning and stuff, to give to somebody, like, to open yourself up so much to somebody that you could break my heart if you wanted to. You know what I
Or
mean?
break my idea. What if
Yeah.
I have a really, really good idea and you go to her and you're like, "I'm thinking about doing this and I'm really excited about it," and she just shits all over it. That's tough.
It's
Yeah.
tough.
You know what I mean? So, and that happened a lot in our early years. And
Yeah.
so, because it's human nature, we just kind of like that. And we're a little bit snarky. We're
And-
sarcastic. You know, we love to, I was raised that way. My family's
I'm
sarcastic
guilty
people.
of that. Like, she'll be like, "Hey, I got this idea," and I'm like, "That's not a good idea." And I don't think about it at the time, and I'm like, "Yeah, you probably could have."
You're just like, you shut it right out.
Yeah, like probably. And I shouldn't be like that. You know, I should probably be more open. I'm just like a very closed, even with my wife. Like, I don't mean to be like that. Just I'm very to myself, closed.
So life, business, your guys' relationship's got levels. Everything's got levels. When you start to experience life on the higher levels, the open-mindedness that comes with that, or that needs to go with that, is something that's not taught to us usually by our parents. It's not taught to us by people that we typically are around on a day-to-day basis, because it's something that's a little rare. It's something that is very raw. It's very visceral. It's feeling. We don't like feelings. Generally speaking, men don't like feelings.
Yeah.
And we weren't raised that way. You know, we weren't raised to feel your feelings and be emotional and all those kind of things.
Yeah.
We've talked before about how men are typically more emotional, in my opinion, than women typically are in a situation. They're a little bit more logical and we're a little bit more emotional. Most people would think it's the other way around. It's not always the other way around.
No.
A lot of times they're a little bit more logical. So to be able to open yourself up on that level and open your mind up to just like, you know what, I married this person, I love this person, I'm doing business, I'm struggling, at times because I'm doing it all on my own. I'm working through all the processes on my own. I got a partner over here, but he's a dude. I'm not opening up to this guy. And he's got his own family and his own problems. And, you know, I don't go home to him every night. I go home to her every night and the kids. So I had to look back. I had to sit back and have a conversation with her and be like, here's the deal. Like, I'm going to try things like this now. Like, this is not the way I was raised. This is not what I'm used to. But I'm going to try it because I know some other people I highly respect that do things like this, and their relationship is so good. Like, every part of it is great. So I'm just going to give this to you. And if you break it, then you break it. You're the only person I've given it to. We'll see what happens. For her, I feel like it kind of opened up a door that she maybe never explored either. Like, wow, somebody would give me this something so fragile that I could just destroy it, or I can foster it and watch it bloom. Yeah. And so then it changed the way that she communicated back with me, because I was just straight candid with her. I need this from you. Can you give that to me? Yeah, I can give that to you. And then she started doing it without me having to ask for it. And when she would, I would recognize it. I'd be like, I appreciate that you did that. I noticed that you did that. The more appreciation I gave her for that, the more it just became second nature for her to do it. And I'm not trying to take all the credit as to that we just changed our life, but it took me looking at me in the mirror and saying, you're the freaking problem. Like you just said, I'm like that. I'm closed off. No, don't be that way. You know what I mean? Like, I married you. I love you. If there's anybody I'm going to open up to and allow you.
She gets frustrated with it because she's like, you don't tell me. I'm like, babe, I don't want to bother you with it.
And sometimes
and she's like, bother me? Like, but I'm just that. I say I'm that kind of person, but like I do. That's definitely something that I need to work on is being more open and like.
So you don't work on it, you just do it.
And I think, but I
just have to figure it out.
Just got to do it.
Just let it rip.
Take a situation, any particular situation when it arises. Think about the conversation we're having right now, and just be like, you know what? I'm gonna handle this one like this. This one situation. Let me see what happens. And just handle that one. Yeah. Don't be like it's a change of life right now. Just try this one situation. I'll throw it out there and see what happens. But communicate. That's what you're doing. Like I had to communicate with her. Listen, this is what I'm doing. This is why I'm doing it. And this is what I need from you. Can you do that for me? Like all BS aside, all the snarkiness, I need you. Like I'm being very serious right now. She was like, okay, you got my attention. I'm put all my BS away. I'm not going to stab at you because I know you're opening up to me. And it really changed the dynamic of the way that we communicate with each other and how we do life and how we do business, because we know we don't have to have code words or anything like that. I just understand that in certain situations, she'll just stop and be like, what do you need from me? And I'm like, I don't know what I need from you right now, but when I figure it out, I'll let you know. And she's like, I'm here. What about this? What about that? She'll just start throwing stuff out. And I'm like, that would probably help. That would really help. Can you do that for me? I got you. And then we can go back to be like, you know, like you joke and stuff.
But I think sometimes like as men and as business owners and stuff, you take on that pressure because like Bobby for a long time, he didn't want me to feel like if there's financial problems, if there's a truck problem.
We're shielding.
Yes.
And that I'm very guilty of that. Like I don't. If I'm having a rough day or whatever, I don't want to take that home and put that. I feel like I'm burdening. You know, I'm. Well, here's my problem.
My day's ruined. Why not ruin yours?
I'm unloading on you. So,
but then you think about it like, okay, I probably ruin her day anyway when I go home and I'm a crab ass.
Right.
You know, and that's been like a lot this year. I've been.
So what happens is they get all the downside to everything you're dealing with, and the upside.
Exactly.
They don't get the triumphs with you. They just get the.
It's not fair.
Pain.
Yeah, fair. I don't really believe in fair and not fair, but it's not the correct thing to do. You shouldn't put anybody in that position. Now that I'm sitting here working myself through it, like,
And sometimes, like I could tell, like going into the office and stuff, because I go into Man Up a couple days a week, and that was something that we had talked about too. Because at first, Bobby's like, "I'd like you to go in 3 or 4 days a week," and I'm like. 2 is kind of where I'm at because we do have little ones, you know what I mean? And so he did agree to that and everything was fine. But going in and actually working with him and stuff like that, we're able to work through so much stuff at work that he doesn't have to bring it home, or I can take it off the plate.
Fixed.
It's already done.
Yeah.
But you know what's crazy about bringing her in hands-on was she always supported me on the backside of everything I did in the trucking company, but on the front side, I was the hands, the eyes, ears, everything. I did all the negotiations. I did everything on the front side. So she never actually had to come see me on the operations. When she walks into an office and starts to see how I actually work, she's able to like settle into a position where she can help fix and elevate aspects of the way that I operate. Like she could look at something and go, you know why I think that this problem keeps happening right here for you that you keep telling me about? Why? Because you're allowing this to happen, and you need to be like this.
That
So
second
try
set of
this.
eyes
Oh
on
my
the
God.
problem.
Yeah. And to be humble enough to listen to her criticism and take it, and to the point where I'm like, let me try that, because that's a great idea. You're 100% correct. Well, that's hard for people too. It's hard for guys.
It is.
And they're just like, oh man, I got it figured out. Look, you just come in here now and all of a sudden you think you're going to tell me, well, yeah,
do.
I am. So I ran a classroom for 10 years. I know, she's like, I understand how to do things.
Well, and we've also created, because I go in and I work more like with the ladies and scheduling and some of that kind of stuff.
The book working, HR.
Yeah. So, but that's my lane though. So you don't get to cross my lane, and I don't really cross your lane unless we've got an idea that we want to discuss together.
And that's not to say you can't.
Right.
It's just to say that if I'm telling you this is what you're taking care of, I trust you're taking care of it. You said you got it. This is what I'm taking care of. Let me focus on what I'm doing. You focus on what you're doing. And then together it's just better, you know? And but the communication, because the business and the personal, they bleed. Like you said, you have a rough day, you go home, and the kids and the wife just get the negative side of the bad day, because you can't shut it off.
No, and I'm really guilty of that. Like, people can look at my face and be like, okay, probably should keep walking. You know, like even like my business partner is the same way. You know, it's like, don't go in there. He's having a moment. And I'm like, man, I don't feel like I am, but like you just know, you know.
I told
and that's
her,
the hard part. And there's been times like I'm pissed, and I'm driving home, and I don't have a very long commute. It's 10 minutes, and I'm like, okay, you gotta, and I'm like, I get out of the car, and I'm still pissed, and I'm like, I don't know what to do.
Like, how do you separate? How do you decompress?
How do I just
switch it off?
Turn it off, and let's tackle it in the morning.
You can't, because our mind doesn't work that way.
Exactly.
And so you come up with coping mechanisms or ways to deal with it. And when I say deal with it, I don't mean like deal with it. I mean deal with it.
Yeah.
Like, you have it there, but I'm not going to allow it to dictate. I told her, I think it was this morning, mornings can be hard sometimes, getting things going. And then when we're trying to get the kids are, in summer now. So you're getting them situated and to come to do this, and traffic's being crazy. And it's really easy to get elevated, And I told her, I said, you know what? It is what it is, because if I don't capture the morning, I don't capture the day. And so if I allow this to get to me this morning, the rest of the day's gone. I lost the war for the whole day. So I'm not going to allow it to happen. I'm frustrated. I'm just going to put it back, and I'm going to focus on what I'm doing here. Or I'm frustrated, and the kids come up to me, Daddy, this, and I'm mad. I'm still working on my head, something work related. Yeah. And I want to show you this, and Madeline wants to show me a dance routine, or Dominic wants to show me something online he found. And I have to take a breath and be like, okay, all right. To them, I might be sincere. To me, I'm faking it a little bit. But is that really wrong? Because I can't put it away.
No,
I can't.
It's still there no matter what.
It's still there no matter what. So I put on the smile, and I fake it for them. And I fake it because I'm happy that they care enough that they want me to see this thing they want to show me. Yeah. You know what I mean? I don't want to downplay that. They're coming like, oh, I want you to see this. Like, I know you'll appreciate it. And so, oh my God, that's so awesome. It's great. And in the back of my mind, I'm like still tearing my brain apart. You know what I mean? And then later I'll talk to her and she'll be like, and I'll unload, and I'm like, it's got that off my chest. I feel better now. She's like, okay. And if there's something that can be done about it, then we'll do something about it. If not, then we just go being the best husband and wife that we can at that moment. And she,
and sometimes you just need to sleep on it. You just really need to let it just sleep on it. Yeah.
Or literally sleep on it sometimes. You just have to take care of things. And so, and that's part of that relationship stuff that we was talking to people about, and the way that people connect, and what their love languages are, how they communicate. Communication's so key. And it's like it's this thing that people overcomplicate, but they don't put enough emphasis on. They overcomplicate with all kinds of weird psychological stuff, or put it this way, we've been together for 22 years. We never even went to marriage counseling. I'm not saying marriage counseling is a bad thing. It's very good for a lot of people, but we have found ways to work with each other,
figure it out,
where we just counsel with each other. You know what I mean? I'm sharing my whole life with you. I'm sharing kids with you. I'm sharing businesses with you. I'm sharing everything with you. I have to share everything with you. My heart, my good stuff, the bad stuff, when I'm having a great morning, when I'm having a bad morning. I have to share all that with you. I can't shield you from those things, because by shielding you, then you're just getting the bad stuff. Like you said, I'm shielding you from understanding why I'm hurting, but now you just have to deal with the fact I'm sitting here hurting.
Yeah.
You
Well,
get this.
she came in one day and I got home and we were sitting there on the couch and she goes, I don't know how you do it. And I was like, see, I don't just go there and just sit on my butt. Like, you know, like, and I don't think that she thought that, but I don't think she realized really without seeing it, like, I'm not just going to work and hanging out with the guys, you know, at work. It's constant phone calls, emails, issues, customers, you know, you're just getting pulled in many, and it's like, sometimes it's like, oh my God, you know, and she's like, yeah, I can help you. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know, but you probably can.
Right.
And that's, you know, that's where the whole gatekeeper conversation came up. And, you know, I guess seeing her realize that, okay, I am doing the best I can, and she sees why I'm, you know, frazzled sometimes, or, you know, running 100 miles an hour. She understands it, you know, and yeah, that's definitely something that we got to do, not work on, we got to do.
Correct. So this is what really boils down to.
Same thing with the systems and processes. You can't work on it, you just got to do it.
Right.
You just got
You implement it.
jump.
You're like, we work with this one, we did the research, this is the one we're going to go with, we implement it.
Yep.
We don't try it, we don't see about it, we implement it, we see how it works. It's trial and error.
Yep.
You know, now the best thing you can do is find somebody else that's used it in a similar application and see how it worked for them, find out the trial and error process through them, and then you either still go with it or you don't, or move on to a different one, or you use it and go, it's going to work perfect because this is how they use it and it's going to work great. And we already know, because we use this guy's hardship over here or his experience with it to figure it out. You know, I tell people, check reviews on things, talk to other companies that have done these things, and see how it worked in their company. Something as simple as a handbook that just have procedures in them, simple procedures, the way people need to dress, the way they need to address clients, the way they need to show up on a job site, the way their stuff needs to be packed on their vehicle. That doesn't seem to make sense to everybody, but like my trucks, I talk to people about, my guys, about the cleanliness of them, how often I want them cleaned, how I want the insides cleaned out. They're like, nobody's ever going to see the inside of that truck. I said, I own the truck, and if I get in it and it's dirty, I'm going to have a problem. And God forbid a client comes and walks up to you before you got out of the truck and you open your door to talk to them, and there's nonsense everywhere.
Yeah.
That might be a far-fetched thing for you, but for the image of my company and what I demand, no, that's my standard. It's called a standard for a reason. Okay? So you guys don't have to pay for it. You just have to take your time to stop and have the truck washed. Okay? That's all I'm asking. And you get nice equipment, clean equipment. Okay?
Yeah.
I'll pay for the washes. But
and see, I like it more because then if I need to let somebody go, or if I need processes in place like that, they've read it, they've signed it, and we're both on the same page.
They understand if I do this, this, and this.
Yes.
You get this. There's no gray area.
Because that note right there, something that we're all really guilty of, especially when we're in a pinch and need help, is we're quick to hire, but we're slow to fire. And that's a freaking problem. Yep. And when you have those things in place, like she just said, the firing part is a lot easier, because if they don't follow those guidelines, there it is right there. You didn't follow the guidelines.
You knew what the consequence was going to be.
And you're covered a little bit more too if something were to happen or go.
And that's the harder part of being an entrepreneur too. It's as you grow. I heard Tim Grover say the other day, and man, Joey will see this and he'll be like, yeah, because Joey edited it. He said being an entrepreneur doesn't make you heartless. It makes you use your heart less. Yeah. Because we lead by our heart. You know what I mean? I feel a certain type of way, or this guy, you know, he's trying really hard. There's different situations where you have a lot of heart, where you can't. Things are black and white. These are procedures and protocols. These are expectations and standards. You either follow them or you don't. If you don't, these are the consequences. Hey, you signed it. I wrote it down. You agreed to it. I have to follow it. Everybody has to follow it. And the quickest way to watch one of your good employees go bad is by watching you tolerate a bad one.
Yep.
You don't want that either. No. So you hold everybody to the same standard. Matter of fact, you hold yourself to that standard. You know what I mean? And then you keep raising that bar.
Yeah.
Because I think it makes you a little harder. You don't get to be that soft person sometimes when you're the owner.
There's zero gray area, and that that's
we've talked about some of the other employees you had.
Yeah, it's
helping them out.
It's tough because I always want to see the best in everybody. You know, I've made a lot of mistakes in my life, so like I understand that, you know, you had a bad day, whatever. Like I'm very, I guess, empathetic towards that situation. I've been fired from one job, and that was in 2021, right when I started this. And that wasn't a fun feeling. Like I don't ever want to, that's not my goal in life, to fire somebody.
Right.
Like that's a terrible thing.
Right. It absolutely.
Like,
It's a hard conversation to have.
Especially if they got kids,
Yes.
mortgage and all this. You don't want to, but at the same time, like they put themselves in that situation, and not always. Sometimes business declines or whatever, but it's still not a conversation that you want to have, but you have to, and you can't. And I've noticed too, even being small, like if I let one guy do this and I don't let this guy do this, it creates a ripple, and it just doesn't work. So it's got to be, okay, this is what time we start. This is what time we go home. There will be, it's, and that's something that, again, we've evolved and kind of gotten more strict. I'm very particular on, cleanliness and like showing up on a job site and cleaning up on a job site. Yeah. Well, that trash was there. I don't care. We got done with that job site and like just pick it up. Yeah. I don't care if that's not your Mountain Dew bottle. Pick it up. Don't leave it there.
They don't know it's not your Mountain Dew bottle.
You walked right past it 10 times.
Right.
And then it's a standard, like you said, or opening the car door and shit's falling out like that. There's nothing like I'm going to go the other way. Like, that would be the most embarrassing. If I would have pulled up out here and I got out of a Coke can, went tumbling, I'm like, oh God. It'd be it's just not professional.
Or just like there's just junk everywhere. You look in there and you're like, oh my God, just like I might have some stuff in my center console and stuff, but like things are picked up, cleaned, vacuumed, wiped down. Yeah. And I understand to some degree we're going to have some organized chaos going on in our life and in our business and on our desks. You can tell organized
chaos and clutter.
Oh my gosh.
Or lack of discipline.
Disorganization.
And that's one of my biggest things is when people walk into my shop, I want it to be a certain, if you're dropping your car off with me for an extended period of time, I want you to be comfortable that your car's there. Not ladders sitting up next to your McLaren that if we open the garage door and a breeze comes in, it's going to.
And you got to call and have that conversation with somebody.
That would be a terrible conversation. And as a business owner, again, I'm not going to risk it. So here's what we do. Yeah. Clean this up, do this, do that, making sure like when people's vehicles leave the shop, they, if we're doing window graphics, we don't have fingerprints on the windows afterwards, like little things like that. And now, like I said, that we're getting, these processes and understandings. Like I have completion photos and I can go back and look because I don't see every job that goes in and out anymore. It's not the same as it was.
Your hands don't go on everything.
Exactly. And, with it being a service-based business, that it needs to all be done a certain way. And I think that's really been like the key and making sure that I do take the time to make sure like the guys are taking completion photos and, all the checklist or, there's nothing worse than a client coming in and being like, well, my check engine light wasn't on when we didn't even work on your engine, but it's happened.
But the check engine light was on and we checked the box and took a picture of it.
Yeah.
When you brought it in.
Yeah. And I've got a picture of it with the mileage and all that. And now it's not a question. I'm confident that, hey, like you should have got your car fixed before you brought it to me to get it wrapped or whatever. Right. But you don't think about that until you have a situation.
That's correct.
Exactly. And now it's like I'm starting to be a little bit more.
And some of those can't all be seen. Like you're not going to see every one of them.
No.
But when it does happen, you set a new procedure in place.
Yeah.
And you start to think, okay, now if that could have happened, what else could have happened? And let me start to try to look ahead. Absolutely.
Yeah.
We need to start taking before pictures now. Yeah.
Roll the windows up. When you get done with it, if we have, stuff apart, make sure the windows roll back up. There's nothing worse than a client getting there to pick up their truck.
Got to plug the switch back in, put the panel back on.
And you're taking the door panel back off in front of the client. And it's like,
because they don't understand how rough you have to be to do some of that stuff.
Oh, no.
It's just what's required to get it apart.
Jerking on my $100,000 truck.
Yeah. You're like, well, it's snapped together with clips, and that's how you got to pull the clips apart. Yeah. You didn't see that. You just seen it all back together.
I didn't say, hey, Bobby, when I take your McLaren, I want you to look right over my shoulder when you're doing it. No, I don't want you to be nowhere. I don't want you to even be in the county. Like, don't even just go away. I'll call you when it's done. Yes. It's just, it's there's certain things but to that extent of that, like, I wasn't the only person that, touched the McLaren. It was in other shops before. Well, maybe the other shops didn't do things properly, or they didn't use certain hardware. I don't want to be, regardless if I do it or not, I don't want to be I don't want to be liable for somebody else's negligence. But hey, we can straighten it out while we're in here. This is why we did it. And that happens a lot. But again, you don't ever put those in place until something bad happens.
Right.
When you're starting off.
You got to have a $100 million mindset, even when you're, a $100,000 company. It just is what it is. Like, if you develop that now and you start to operate as if you are, you get what you focus on. Focusing is very important, especially for entrepreneurs, but people in general. You focus on the bad, you just keep getting dealt shit sandwiches. You focus on the good, and the good will come. You get what you focus on. So if you have that mindset that even though we're this big, we're operating like we're this big, you will be that big.
Yeah.
Eventually.
Overbuild it. It's like an engine.
Just
you don't want to
over-engineer.
build it for 1,000 horsepower. Build it for 2,000 if you're going to have 1,000. That way you got room to grow, or it's a safety thing.
Right.
So, and that's, like I said, that's one thing that we're really doing this year, because I've had a rough couple months, like mentally, like wanting to give up, and it's like
It's part of the process.
And when
so you know.
you get in that funk,
Yeah.
you keep getting dealt shit
And
sandwiches,
hear that from us,
if you will.
and hear that from every other entrepreneur you talk to. That is part of the process.
Yeah, and it's
Feeling
okay.
like giving up
It's
is okay.
It's okay to want to give up.
It is.
Just don't give
Just
up.
don't quit.
Yeah.
Yes. It's okay to feel like quitting.
Yeah.
Just don't quit.
Yeah.
Because the difference between you and all your competition that you will outlast is they will all give up and you won't.
Yeah.
That's basically what separates people. If 1,000 people start year 1, by year 2, you might be down to 500. By year 5, you're down to 100. By year 10, you might be down to 10.
Yeah.
Okay? It's a game of who outlasts who.
Yeah.
And so you just stick it out. And a lot of those guys, they quit for reasons that the rest of us would have laughed at. They'd be like, you quit for that? Yeah, I had enough. And you're like, you just weren't ambitious enough. You didn't want it bad enough. Because if you really wanted it,
Some people just can't stomach the risk. You know what I
you
mean?
have to be able to sleep and stomach the risk. That was something I remember in a business class, my business professor was telling me that is a big part of being an entrepreneur. It was a small business management class. And he talked about stomaching the risk. You have to be able to sleep at night with that knot in your stomach. Go to sleep and get some sleep and wake up. The knot might still be there when you wake up.
Yeah.
But you have to be able to stomach it and move forward the next day productively. It's easy to be in the suck. That's a whole chapter of things we talk about. In the suck, and just focusing on the suck instead of focusing on how I'm going to get out of the suck. You're just in it. And so when you're in it, sometimes your blinders are on. That's why having people like this are so crucial, because when I'm knee deep in it and I can't see anything but this crap that's in front of me, I can bounce that back off her, and she's throwing me the ladder. Like, here, grab this. I got you. And that's how we pull ourselves in and out. Navigate through life and through businesses, and we've been very successful at it, is because we bounce that stuff back off. And there for a long time, I didn't think she wanted anything to do with it. I knew she couldn't drive a truck or anything to do with trucking, but I also never invited her in. She was a teacher. I never said, hey, do you want to come on this journey with me? Well, I'm here already, ain't I? Well, yeah, but do you want to jump in here with me and do this with me? She's like, well, you're not going to do it alone. Yeah, absolutely I do. And so I'm like, I always know she's smart, she's educated, she's just in general a very smart person. So I'm like, let me start throwing this crap at her that I've figured out, and let me see how she approaches it. When she starts approaching it from a very different side than I do, and she exposes weaknesses and strengths that I didn't know existed, and I never even would have known that she was capable of doing that had I not just been like throwing it at her. Like, what do you think about this? What about this? What about this situation? Or, man, when I have something complicated happen, I'll call you back. I got to go. Boom. Calling Shelley. Hey, Shelley, this is going on. What do you think? Sometimes she don't answer, and I'll text her like, hey, I need you to answer the phone.
Yeah,
It should
now's
be
one
when
of those
her mom really
times I
thinks-
need
yeah,
to
it's like, I need
silent.
you to answer the phone. She's like, what's up? And I'm like, this is what's going on. What do you think? And she's like, she'll start throwing stuff at me, or she might come back and be like, she might throw a couple objections at me. I'll work through those objections because I already have a justification for them. They're good questions. And she'll be like, I trust you. I know you got it. I said, are you sure? And she's like, if this is fine and this is fine and it'll work like this and you think it will, you're pretty sure, do it. Pull the trigger. Boom. And we
On
move
to the
quick.
next. Yeah.
I heard somebody the other day say she talked. It was Cody Sanchez. I think she said she talked to a billionaire friend of hers, and she said that the reason he said that he felt like he had been so successful over some of his competition and friends is because he had already made a decision and 3 mistakes by the time they even contemplated making a decision.
Yeah, sometimes
He's
you just gotta
quick.
go.
Sometimes you just got to be quick. Like you calculate it, but then you move.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And then you work through
Yeah,
that. You
can,
move.
You can talk yourself out of a lot. Sometimes you got to go. Like there's no owner's manual. You just got to figure it out.
Yeah, sometimes there isn't.
And you got to move quick. If you realize that this this decision that I made isn't working, you got to cut. You got to stop it. Go the other way.
Right.
Don't keep going down that road and trying to fit. Just
Cut
go
your
the
losses.
other. Yeah, move on.
Yeah, a lot of people don't cut their losses and they stay in it for too long to the end, and then
Yep.
that's part of the problem.
And when in business, it takes a month of poor decision making. It's done.
We've seen huge
There's
companies
no more.
hang on for one too many months and go from multi-millions to bankrupt because the cash flow got disrupted.
No.
And when the inflow slowed down too much, the outflow did not. And they went from, hundreds of millions of dollars to zero in just a couple months because they hung
all
in
it takes.
too long.
And the bigger you get, if you don't fix that stuff when you're small, the bigger you get, the bigger your problems are. Like you said, this $1,000 situation that stressed you out now is a $10,000 or is a $20,000 or is a $30,000. Or if you have clients that, oh yeah, you got 10,000 in receivable and you're like, man, I'm rich. Well, now you get 60, 100. If they don't pay this,
Yeah, because I got 100,000 in receivables, but every week I've got 25,000 in freaking expenses.
Yeah, there's a middle section here.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's one thing that you don't fathom it when it's just you yourself. It's like, oh, I need to make $2,000 a week to pay my bills or whatever.
Right.
That's easy.
Right.
I mean, if you think about it, like in that point, like I could do that all day, every day. Not a problem.
Yeah.
But when you got 1, 2, 3, 4 of those, you got all these other moving parts. You've got thousands and thousands of dollars of material. Like those numbers get real big real quick. And then you start looking at it like, okay, well maybe $50,000 in the bank is really not that much because it takes like 2 bad months and we're done. Like that's it. That's a wrap.
Or one big client, if I got too many eggs in that basket to go belly up on me, and I'm like, oh God.
Well, it just
I'm gonna
goes
recover
out
from
so
that.
much faster than it comes in.
It does.
It just does.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
and as you get bigger, it's amazing how fast it goes out, and if you don't watch it, next thing you know, it's like,
what happened? Yeah.
And you can't explain it sometimes. Like, because I'll say to Bobby, so where did that go? And he's like, well, I can show you, but it just like
It just
disappeared.
went. Yeah, like all this came in and then all this goes out.
Yeah.
And that's how it works. And in some months, a lot more goes out than comes in. In some months,
Yes.
like I get a lot more that comes in and a little bit goes out. But I can't then spin that because the next one could
God,
be the exact opposite. And I need some off this. So it
It's
just,
tough.
and I talked to a guy a long time ago. He told me when he was in trucking, he was most profitable when he had 3 trucks. Now when I talked to him, the point that I talked to him, he had 6. I said, you mean to tell me you were more profitable at 3 trucks than 6? And it took me a long time to understand what he was talking about. And he said, well, when I had 3 trucks and I was running one of them, they were always running. And I could usually keep all 3 of those running and I could maintenance and stuff like that. But he said, when I got 4 and then I got 5 and then I got 6, there was always 1 to 2 trucks sitting broke down. There was always 1 to 2 drivers that didn't want to work or called out or couldn't do as much work or whatever. So, but my expenses had went through the roof for insurance and fuel and everything else. But for what they were bringing in versus what the expenses were to bring those on, it's almost like I had to go from 3 trucks to 10 trucks to 20 trucks to 100 trucks. You have to make those leaps to see the difference because like you said, if you're making $10,000 a week, but you only have $2,000 in expenses, okay, so we got $8,000 spread there, or I'm making $100,000 a week, but I have $80,000 in expenses, I've got a $20,000 spread and a hell of a lot bigger liability.
yeah.
Okay.
And
So
one
maybe
bad
I'm
month
bringing
is-
in 100,000 a week, but I'm spending 80 of it. So were you better to be that guy, or were you better to be the guy that was making 10 and only spending 2?
Yeah.
Yep.
And
So where do you want to be?
that's that's part of the growth process that we've realized is, okay, we found a sweet spot in how many guys we have and how to keep our schedule. Like, we're at like 4 weeks, and I'm comfortable with that because like I know that I've got work for 4 weeks and I'm comfortable. I really like to be 6, but we've kind of got it down to 4 weeks with the extra. We've added a printer, so now we're
You
more
don't want to
efficient.
promise too, because so much shit can change in 6 weeks.
Exactly.
you know?
Exactly. And then you don't with certain things too in sales, you don't want to push somebody off 6 weeks.
Because they'll find somebody else.
Yes.
Yeah, there's certain projects. A color changer app, a guy might not want to wait 6 weeks. A sign where they're going to wait 6 weeks.
Correct.
They
Gotcha.
understand you have
Yeah.
to do permitting. This is a
Yeah.
different thing. And you know that you've been a consumer of both.
Yeah.
So like if I would have said, hey man, it's going to be like 6 weeks. Yeah, probably maybe just look somewhere else. Maybe they can get me in sooner. So you got to kind of know your market.
Well, because
there,
I might be working on timeline too. I might have, like everybody does. We come to it at the 11th hour, right?
Absolutely.
So I need this done, and so like, could you get that done next week? Like it takes me 3 weeks to get the permit, and then to order the template or whatever I got to get to for me to do the thing I got to do, and then come out and install it.
Yeah.
So
and I'm not ordering nothing before I have a permit. Like I can't.
Gosh, yeah, because size wise, we looked at that.
Yeah.
You ran it through. They're like, oh, that's not our sizes. You have to choose. We had to change the size. Could you imagine if you'd spend the money, the $3,000, and had the sign build, and then be like, oh, it's too big.
Yeah.
And I can't even put it up. Now what do we do with it?
And-
Well, that's a you problem.
Right? That's now it's my problem. And you tried to help me from myself, and I couldn't because it's your job as a business owner sometimes to help people from themselves. I'm here to try to help you from yourself. I'm telling you that's not the best idea. Not be this idea over here. I'm telling you might not be more expensive than that idea. I'm telling you it's not a good idea because I need to get the permits first to find out that's correct.
Well, and we'll run into that. Like in the county, we just did a job in Chesterfield, a channel letter job, and the permitting process was kind of a nightmare. And then once you get Chesterfield to okay it, now you got to get the county to okay it, and like they have different rules, and it was a time. Like I had a timeline, and I ended up going back to and it was a pretty high energy guy, and I knew that the conversation wasn't going to be exactly fun. I mean, he already gave a deposit, and I'm like, hey, I'm going to give you your money back. I honestly I don't think, because it was stressing me out knowing that like he wants it done on this day, but I still haven't heard back. I can't start production. So I called him and I had that uncomfortable conversation, and he's like, just do what you can. I understand. Like, it's not your fault. Like, I get it. I'm like, why didn't I just deal with
It's hard
that
to have
the
those
first
conversations sometimes, isn't it?
Yes.
I
It's
just
like,
talked
why
to-
didn't you just talk it out? Why hold that in because you think he's going to be pissed off? No, just it is what it is. Like,
That's
hey, this is out of my control.
That's the not being heartless, but using your heart less.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like those are the uncomfortable hard situations. That's the business side of it. Listen, I got dealt something I didn't know was going to happen either. So all I'm doing is being the bearer of bad news and letting you know it got dealt to me. But you know what? Communication, right on. I just found out about it.
Yeah.
I'm calling you. I'm letting you know right away. I'm not sitting on it. I'm not hoping it goes away. I'm communicating with you that this is going on, and that's the best thing I can offer to you right now. You're either going to respect that, businessman to businessman, or you're not going to respect that. I always respect that. You had my rap, said it was going to take X amount of time. It ended up taking several weeks, I think, if I remember right, longer, but you were getting it right.
Yeah.
You're like, I got to get it right, and I don't want this guy to do it. I've got these jobs going on, and then I can come back to it, and like, I want to make sure I do it.
Yeah.
I respected that. I respected the fact that you wanted to personally put your hands on it, make sure it was right. So I'm okay. That's fine. I get it.
Yeah.
You know what I
It's the
mean? Make sure it's right.
communication. And again, it's so important in sales and business ownership. Like a lot of the problems that I noticed I was having is, I could do that. I was over promising and then stressing myself out. Yeah, you can't do that. You got to be reasonable with yourself. And what happens is you can do that for a little while, but then your guys get wore out because they're working a lot, and it's just stress, and it's just like, you know what, it's not worth it.
Yeah.
Just be honest. Do what you can do. Communicate throughout the process. And if they don't want to do that, that's probably not somebody you want to do work with anyway, right?
Yeah, that's true.
They're going to find
If
somebody
they're
else.
unrealistic anyway, I can't work with you probably.
Well, and nowadays too, it's like, I don't know why I do that, because I know if you call any other sign company in the area, they're the same amount of time out. It's not like you're going to get pissed off at me and then call the next guy. He's going to tell you the same amount of time, if not longer.
And the price might be a lot more.
Exactly.
I mean, I know what I'm competing against, and I'm not leveraging that against you and trying to screw you
Exactly.
over. I'm just telling you this is the best I can do, and it could be better than everybody else anyway.
Yeah, but feel free to call around.
I'm being honest. You'll find out. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's the hardest thing too. Is like when you start out, you want to make sure you're getting all the jobs and all this, and it's like you can't do that.
But then after you get going, you realize that the repeat business is more important.
Yep.
So when you start treating people just like that and you're communicating with them, no matter what they do, they end up being a repeat customer. And then referrals.
Yep.
Man, you make so much more money off referrals.
Yep.
And it's free marketing. I do a really good job with you in your car on this wrapper, a really good job with you on this sign. I was a lot better priced. I was a lot quicker, a lot attentive. I had an issue. I immediately addressed it. Referrals. I mean, I've referred you guys to probably 20 people. Hell, I was trying to get the school over in Union before they locked in this deal on this digital sign. They had to use you guys. This company hosed them hard on this digital sign. And it's nothing more than a dang television is all it is, with a really outdated system for updating it. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And so we're like, me and Travis were actually on the board, and we're like, we've got a guy that is right here in town. You guys should call. The company you guys are using is out of St. Louis. Oh, we already ordered it. They're installing it next week. It's been weeks. I'm like, we just got on the board.
Yeah.
We're like, I've recommended you to a lot of people just because your service, or I call you and you're like, give me 2 days. I'll be out, take a look at something.
Yeah.
Which we got to get back a hold of you because I want to get that wrap done.
On the wall.
Mm-hmm.
I still got all the information.
Yeah.
Thanks to my new ordering system. I got all.
Yeah, let's just store.
I got it archived.
Yeah.
I got it in a certain, I do that way. If you do get slow, I can come back.
Yep.
Hey, Bobby, let's talk about that wrap.
Hey, I want to catch back up about that wrap. Yeah.
But before I would just forget about it, and it wasn't like anything purpose. But I already went out there and surveyed it. So let's maybe use that time wisely. Now I don't have to make another trip. I just pull it back up. And
if nothing's changed,
the wall didn't change sizes.
Yeah, as long as nothing's changed on that wall, we're good.
We're good. Yeah, but and it's things that just trying to just be more efficient, more effective, and going in the right direction and making those changes and having everybody on board has been really the main thing, and realizing that, hey, it's me, it's Corey. We've had discussions that weren't always fun. Like, hey, dude, this is ours.
You guys are the leaders.
We're the leaders.
Yes.
If we come in 5 minutes late, they think it's okay, but I can't expect you to do something that I don't do myself. So I always try to lead by example. Like, if I'm working for somebody, like I worked for a bunch of different companies throughout the years, and the one guy, he's getting ready to retire, and that dude he was always there way before everybody. He was always the last one to lock up, and he's still that same way. And like when I was going through all this stuff here in the last few months, I sat down and had lunch with him. I said, hey, can I pick your yeah, let's do lunch, and just understanding how he works, and being that leader, and reading Extreme Ownership and understanding that book helped me out a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And he turned me on to that. He goes, I wasn't always that way.
Mm-hmm.
I read this book and I kind of started implementing things and trying to create that culture and that.
Just do. He just
It
does.
just-
His
yeah,
word for this.
yeah.
Let me just
And-
do this and see what
and
it does.
Since I've started doing that, I've noticed that my guys are more, more slick, and Corey. Sometimes I think we don't always feel like people look up to us, and we don't always necessarily think that, right? Like certain people are built to be a leader, or certain people are built to be a manager or an employee or an entrepreneur or a president, and you don't realize that my mood will dictate what goes on in the rest of the shop, or my attitude, or my way of life. If I'm going out partying, now my guys think it's cool to go out and party because
or they just have no respect for you, or
yeah,
it just
yeah,
dictates so many things.
Yeah, so I always, I try to clean up my life. I try to be somebody that I want those guys to look up to,
Right.
And I don't think you don't realize that, I guess, when you're younger. Like the other day I looked at Corey, because our one guy, he's having a baby, he's 26. I call him Junior because he's me made over. He's me when I was 26. And he's he's me when I was 26. So I know what he's doing before he even does it.
Yeah.
You know, I'm like, dude, I know what you're up to. Like, don't, you know, like I already been down this road,
Yeah.
dude. I get it.
Yeah.
And, you know, watching him get his own place and grow up, and now he's having a kid, and, you know, and I looked at Corey because we went over and helped him move, and I was like, man, it sure is awesome being able to like help him provide, like see him like grow up and understand like, hey, it's you know, 26, it's maybe not always cool to have kids in your own place and responsibilities, but seeing that he sees what we got, you know, what we're doing, and we have kids and families, and he wants to be like that because he didn't always have that. And I was like, man, that feels so good. Like it's about watching them grow now.
Dude, some next level entrepreneurship right there. I mean, that's some stuff that people focus on the wrong things sometimes. We talk about the purpose in what you're doing. And obviously, when you get started in business, you want to make money. So everybody focuses on money. And I get it. Things have got to be profitable. Yeah, I get it. But what happens is once you get some of that stuff in place and the money part's figured out, like you're making money, you have to shift to a purpose. What's my purpose? You know, and do I want to set an example for these guys that are working for me? Do I want them to see something? And I've got guys in my company. Matter of fact, I probably have more older guys than I do younger guys in my company. And so they still look up to me, even though they're looking down. Like, man, you're figuring stuff out. I'm like, listen, every day I have to figure something out. Yeah. Whatever you guys think you know, I promise you it's not 100% correct. Yeah. Every day I'm figuring this out. I learn something every day. I try to make it a point to learn something every day. I think it's really important to be a good student all the time. Always should be learning, reading books. I don't care if it's an audio book or whatever. Just try to learn stuff all the time. Yep. People's perspectives, point of views, different businesses and how they operate, because all businesses operated on the same set of principles. They're just industry specific. Yep. So you plug and play the industry into it. But honestly, the standards and principles those are built off of, the foundation, are all either very similar or exact. Yeah. Just once you break it down to its finest reduced version, you see it. You lay it all out and you're like, oh, they do that and they do that and do that. Well, all these successful companies are all built the same way. They just have to do it differently once they plug their industry into it. So like we formed a lot of our structure for our coaching company off that. And so when you see those guys that are younger, even older, look at you and be like, man, I really admire when they say things like that you do this or that you act like this or that, you know, you have this in your life or your family or your wife or, you know, or how you did this for us so that we could have this quality of work here and things like that. Because I've talked to them before and I'm like, listen, guys, I understand this is an idea. Like, we don't want to work weekends, or we don't want to have to work part of this holiday, or we don't want to have to work this extra time but if you do this, or I got to go do it, or anybody goes and does it. Like I ran Christmas Eve. I wanted all of them to have that off, but my client needed us. So I went and ran because the client needed us. But I'm like, you guys, what you're doing, you do it for you and your family, but you do it for him and his family and him and his family. Yeah. And them.
It's a team,
It's a team. You know what I mean? Everything you do is for that client. So that client keeps calling us back. So everybody here has good work. We can all eat.
We all have a job next
week. And in
week.
turn, he stays late and does the extra mile. So you've got one. And he over there, that guy puts in an extra load 2 or 3 times a week. So they're happy. So you guys have a job. It's not just I or me. It's us. Okay. So like I had a meeting with a guy last night, with a prospective hire. And it's a guy that I've hired before. He's a great guy. Really like him. And I had this meeting with him, and I think he was a little nervous because he was like, oh, he's going to be like, you know, this time around, I want you. And I said, no. First of all, I have to let you know, it's not that. What I want you to know is that we've grown a lot since the last time you were here. This is our company vision. This is what we do, how we do things. This is our handbook. I want you to review it before you leave your current job and come back. I want you to understand that the standard that we have now is much higher. This is what we require from you. This is what we will give you. This is what we will do in exchange. Okay. I will always take care of you if you take care of me. That's how it works. It's a mutual thing. But I want you to understand now that this is what we bring to the table. And now I do that with everybody. Whether I do it or me and my ops manager do it or me and Shelley do it. We do that with everybody because I want it understood that this is what we will do for you, but this is what we also require from you, so that later on down the road, they're not going, well, I thought, or you didn't say, or no, I
was going to have to work weekends.
Because if this doesn't work for you, by all means, don't take it on. I fully understand, but do understand that if you do take it on, this is what I will require from you. This is my expectations, you know? And I think that's a really good thing for people to do in their company, just in general, so that people, they feel that. They're like, oh, I mean, he's passionate about this. If you bring that type of passion into your business every single day, they know it's going to be a successful business. They watch it grow.
Yeah.
They watch it last the test of time, and they go, it's because that person operates in a certain type of way. And this guy over here drinks every single night. He's gone on the weekends, and he cheats on his wife, and he's shitty to his kids, and he's got a shitty quality, and he's got a churn rate that's like weekly. You know what I mean? And it's because he's a shitty leader.
Yeah.
It's leadership.
Well, and it comes back to the guy in the mirror, the girl in the mirror. Like, you got to just own it and just, you got to be, we're like computers, trash in, trash out. So we have to, be mindful of what we're putting out there to our guys and customers and this, that, and the other. But like, it's just a matter of setting that standard, like you said, and then just, you got to live by it too. Like you can't be, I've worked for a guy that would say one thing and, preach one thing and do the exact opposite. And it's like, you didn't have any respect for that guy. I don't want to be that guy.
Yeah.
Like when you see Howie on Saturday, it's the same guy that you see on Monday or Sunday or Tuesday or Wednesday or Thursday, Friday, whatever. It's always the same. Black, white. That is who it is. Like if you run into me while I'm out and about, that's the same person you're gonna get.
It's not a put on guy. It's not a character.
No,
like this is who I am.
Yep.
Love me or hate me, this is who I am. But
Yeah.
that's
People are watching, and when you are a business owner, people are watching to see how you act and stuff before they give you their business.
Yep.
You know what I
don't
mean?
want to be a fake person.
No.
I mean, I want to be genuinely who I am, and
Right.
it's because there is always somebody watching. I might think in an imposter syndrome sort of way that I'm making people change the way that they're being by watching the way that I am. Like they want to be more like me, okay? And then I'm like, nobody's watching, nobody cares. But there are people that are watching. There are people that are care.
Yeah.
There are people that admire it. There are people that want to be and replicate what you've done.
Yep.
And so sharing that story with people is really, really important. And I don't think that people knew for the longest time. And I bring people on here and talk to them. They don't always know that person. But sometimes it increases business. When they get to know people on this level, they can correlate with them a little bit more directly, or they associate with the way you are in life, with the way they are in life, or situations, or just the fact that you guys think a lot alike. And they're like, well, I never knew that guy was it's kind of like politics. Sometimes they're like, well, I didn't know anything about him, but I found that he's right wing, he's a Trump supporter, and I'm going to do business with him. I'm not saying you got to pull politics into it, but people look at people's pedigree that way.
That's how things are gauged, especially nowadays. I mean,
this is who I am. And to be honest with you, if you don't click with me, that's fine. Then I don't want you here.
It makes
either.
you
That's
try to
fine
put
too.
your best foot forward, though, most of the time. Like when you're out in public and stuff,
Yeah.
like obviously I don't want to go
Standards.
sit with you and you be cussing up and down at a restaurant or anything like that. I mean, I just think it makes you.
I can't say that I'm not guilty of that at times. I don't have the best mouth. It's just who I am sometimes.
But you're human.
But
Yeah.
but I just think
But
you have to.
But
be
you know when it's okay.
I try to slide him in there in a tactful way, but it's just But
We all do, and that's one thing that I always thought of. Like, I'd be in my shop and I'd cuss or whatever, and I'm like, and then like my wife's like, hey, maybe you shouldn't drop.
Shelley's
that.
like, maybe it doesn't have to be
do you
like every
want,
other word.
Do you want that to be her first word or?
Yeah, well, and then once you have kids and they slip up, and it's like, okay, well, I can't smack Johnny in his mouth because if Dad says it, why can't I?
The girls will say that. They're like, "Where'd you hear that from?" She goes, "Well, Dad said that the other day," and I'm like.
So then we get real tricky with our words. So instead of saying, we'll say like shizzy.
Yeah.
So the kids will be like, oh, shizzy. And I'm like, well, let's just not. I mean, it's better than what
why
you
don't you
could
just
have
say
said.
it? I know what you're saying.
We'll just say all nuggets or something. Okay, can we go? Can we just? So let's watch a little more Blue and come up with some fun ways to say stuff like that. But no, it's interesting because people are watching, and when they do associate themselves a little bit better on a personal level with you, it does help with business. And that's the only kind of people I really want to do business with. If you don't understand my mission and my vision or what I'm all about, I don't want you in my corner anyway. I don't want people around me that don't understand what I'm all about and are on the same page. If you're not, that's perfectly fine. I don't need you in my corner. I don't need you here.
Yeah.
I'm only looking for people who are looking for me. That's it.
Yep. And it is okay that we don't get along or we don't do business together, but like that's okay. It doesn't have to be personal or whatever. And that's something, I've learned. I don't do business with some people. There's certain people that I just don't do business with.
That's
and
fine.
it's nothing. It's okay. It wasn't nothing personal. At first it felt personal, It's not. It's, hey, this just doesn't work, and it's okay that it doesn't work. Somebody else might work better with you. You know, I'm not perfect. I don't claim to be, but me and you, we just don't work good together.
Just don't work.
Yeah.
You had asked too. I wanted to address. You had asked how we decompress from work and just spend family time together. And I thought pretty long and hard about that because anymore we just do. And so I'm like, I get into these phases where I like analyze everything now, and I'm like, so what is it about? Because we did that when we set our programs up, or we know we worked really well together, but we have to analyze what is it we do. Like, what is it that we actually do that makes us work so well, so we can put a blueprint to it and actually extrapolate that information and put it on pen and paper, like make it make sense, right? Because to us, it's just what we do. It's how we operate. So I started thinking about that, and something somebody told me a long time ago was basically about being intentional and being present. And so when we go on a vacation, their business is still, the phone's still operating. I don't shut my phone off. I'm not one of those guys that says I shut that phone off. And I'm just not. I know there's people that do that, and they say they just put it away, and if it's on fire, it'll just have to burn. I'm in this moment at that time.
Too many emergencies can happen, especially in the trucking
I just can't.
industry
And if the kids aren't with us or something. But so, well, like I mentioned earlier, even if it comes off kind of fake sometimes to the kids, I'm still intentional about making sure I feel present.
Yeah.
Even if at that moment I couldn't truly be present.
Feel like you're.
But if I can be present, I put that damn thing down and I'm present. Okay. What's your story? Like, we're on vacation. Like, we're going to go ride go-karts. I'm not on my phone the whole time we're walking around dealing with people and stuff. I got the phone on silent. I got it in my pocket. If it goes off, I might look. I might not even answer. I might let all that stack up. We'll go, like right now, I haven't picked that phone up one time. I've probably got 20 missed messages on there. I'll deal with it later.
I feel like going over here.
Because I need to be intentional in this time with you. You know, I've asked you to come here. You've graciously came. I'm going to give you this time. And so you have to be intentional and present. You have to be intentionally present, you know? So, especially with your kids, because man, they are watching and they'll remember those moments. And when you make the moments, like we're going to go on vacation to Mexico, I can't go down there and them remember that I was just arguing on the phone all the time because something happened or this was going on or that was going on. And maybe I was ticked off 90% of the time, then 10% of the time that's what they'll remember. You know, if I can just intentionally be there and be present with them the whole time, they'll just remember the spectacular trip that we had. You know, the four of us took. And I want them to remember that their whole life. And so I have to be intentional myself about being present in that moment with them. And the stuff still exists, but whether I look at it or not, it's still on that phone. It's still there.
It'll be there.
It'll still be there.
Yeah.
So I can either deal with it right now or I can deal with it in an hour. It doesn't matter. It's still going to be there.
Yep.
You know? And I'm a man of faith. We talk about that quite often. And if I was supposed to take care of it right now, I wouldn't have put my phone on silent and put it down. I would have been in a different situation at a different time when I was able to address it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, what happened. So for us, at least for me, I don't want to speak for you, that's something that I've tried to really work on. It's just being intentionally present, because I think that's key to making sure that I make those memories with her and those memories with the kids matter.
And like when Bobby's on his way home, he might call and we might have the conversation about what happened during the day or anything like that, so we can kind of get it out. But then when he hits the door, we try not to talk about it until the kids are ready for bed or whatever, because we need that time with them too, to just see us as a family.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it's nice to sit down at dinner and, you know, how was baseball camp? How was this? Not, I had to deal with this customer. Like, they don't want to hear
They don't care.
They don't care.
They don't care.
They'll pretend like they do, and they're like, "Oh, Dad, are you okay?" Or what? Dominic will come off. Well, what did they say about it? And I'm like, well, now I'm getting him involved in some stuff he shouldn't.
I know. He's got his whole life to be stressed out.
Yeah, and I'm stressing him out. Yeah, right. And he will. He'll get involved and be like, well, that's just, and he'll start putting his information. And I'm like, oh, wait a second, I don't need you in this conversation right now.
Yeah.
So that's. I think that's pretty important, especially with your spouse. Like I mentioned earlier, when the kids are gone, it's still the two of you.
Yep.
And if you made that commitment to her, like, you guys have to be intentional at that time now, so that when they're gone, you still look at her and be like, man, I'm so glad I have you here with me.
Yeah, this will be a very
now we get to go do this stuff together, you know, and that's, people miss that. That's what life's all about, you know. It really is. But the struggle and the stress and the grind and all that stuff's always going to be there as long as you're in this business. And it's no different in mine. It's no different in yours or anybody else I talk to. So I'd like to talk to people and let them know, yeah, that's part of it. Sure, you're 3 years in, I'm 15 years in. Yeah, that's part of it. It's part of it at 3 years. It's part of it at 10 years. It's part of it at 15 years. And when you start a new venture, guess what?
Starts all over again.
But you get smarter, you get wiser.
Yes,
and
goes
you
a
go
little faster.
A little bit faster next time. So
it's a little easier to handle and navigate, and I think once you kind of have that understanding, as long as you're, got some cognitive ability that you can adjust, but until you experience that, you don't know.
You don't know.
You know,
You don't know what you don't know.
You don't, exactly.
Awesome. Well, man, I really appreciate you coming on today.
Thanks for having me.
And I apologize for this is round 2. First round got encrypted or something got messed up, but I feel like this was a much better podcast than the last version anyway. So StickerGeek, Union, Missouri. What's your guys' phone number?
636-249-3888.
It does a lot of commercial signage, wraps, wall wraps, window wraps. I've personally used them multiple times. I've done car wraps with them, business signage. They were always on time. The product is great. I even had, you guys put my door sign up, and one of the times was wrong on it. Come right out and fixed it next day. Took the whole thing off, put a whole new wrap up.
Yep.
Like by the time I came into work, it was fixed. I was like, hey, the time's right already. I mean, they just were on it. So every expectation that you guys ever set, you were really good at communicating if there was anything that changed. And I highly recommend you guys to anybody who's looking to do anything in signs. And I had some situations with other companies that I had looked at before I came to you guys. And so I got to compare those things, and night and day difference just in the way that you guys care and do business and truly what your standard and values are as a company. They definitely show through the fact that you're a little bit of a smaller company because you guys do stand on those values much. And me personally, I'm the kind of guy that isn't always about the cheapest, even though you guys were even a better value than the other guys. But I want the quality, and I want the professionalism, and I want to work with people who are good to work with. I want to work with people who don't just treat me like a number, but as a customer, as Bobby Guinea. I like that. I appreciate that. And so I've dumped entire companies just to work with other companies and spent more money because those people put in a little bit more time of caring than the other guys did. The other guys were like, well, it's just a number. You're just a number. You're a bid, you're in line, you're this, you're that. And they didn't treat you like an individual. Not that I want any special attention, but just don't treat me.
Yeah. You got to treat people like you want to be treated. And you're taking people's hard-earned money. I try to use that, if I buy a car and I have issues with my car, I want you to stand behind it, hey, fix it, whatever. And I get it. Things happen. Just fix it. Move on, make it right, whatever. So that's, kind of how we try to do business is, I treat people how I want to be treated.
It's that simple.
Yep.
I mean, it really truly is that simple. It doesn't have to be complicated.
Nope.
To treat somebody the way you want to be treated.
Yep.
I think that's a pretty simple gesture.
Yep. We all work hard for our money. And
And if this is what my expectation is, and you're going to give me the same thing, I'm in. You know what I mean? So
Perfect.
I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I really
Appreciate
do.
it. Thank you.
Thank you.
This is partners in the process.